I want to start with an interesting story that is on the referendum debate on the headline, the first page of the Standard. They are talking about the third referendum showdown. The third referendum showdown looms, of course, giving an account of different members of parliament who have proposed different routes to that particular amendment. For instance, Chris Wamalwa from Kiminini is proposing that the election date be moved from the second Tuesday of August every fifth year to the third Monday of December. And the background to this has been that it interferes with the school calendar and the schools are used as the polling station. So he wants that election be moved until that third Monday of December, at a time that all the learners will have been taken a break for the Christmas holidays. Then there's George Kariuki, the member of parliament from Deer, is proposing to reduce the number of counties and county assemblies to 12 from 47. He says that the 12 new counties should be headed by provincial governors, and then seeks to have 2 senators in each of their 12 counties, male and female. That should give you a number of about 24, and wants health, education, roads and public works to move to the national government so that they are no longer devolved functions partly or fully as it is now. Then Vincent Mogaka from West Mugirango is proposing the reduction of ministries to a maximum of 12 from the current maximum of 22. He wants the members of the cabinet to be called cabinet ministers instead of cabinet secretaries, and they should be picked from elected MPs, as was the case before the new constitution. And then seeks to change system of governance from the current presidential to a hybrid model, so that I believe hybrid is where you have an executive prime minister sitting in parliament and informing discussions that run the government? Yes. Great. Then there's Caleb Kositani, MP for Soy. He wants the Senate abolished. I have 2 senators here. I will hear from them whether they want their seats taken away. Of course, it doesn't have to be you being at the Senate. No. But then William Kamket, the member of parliament from Tiati. This is a proposal that he gave as soon as the last election concluded, and he wants parliament to elect a ceremonial one-term president to serve for 7 years, a 7-year term, which is just one, and then he should vacate office. Then proposes creation of a position of executive prime minister to head government from parliament, and wants position of DP scrapped and 2 deputy prime minister positions created. Also proposing to change the election date to second Tuesday of December every 5th year, and also seeks to have senators elected by MCs. So these are some of the suggestions that are coming from the members of parliament. But yesterday we spoke to the Third Way Alliance former presidential candidate and party leader, Dr. Ekuru Okot, and he was suggesting the agenda of Punguza Mzigo, talking about reducing the number of legislators, the level of representation. He wants members of parliament not to be elected by constituencies, but instead be elected by the 47 counties. So in essence, we would have at least 147 parliamentarians and a maximum of 194. First of all, do you think that this debate is coming at the right time?
I have no problem with the debate in any form, because a referendum, a change of the constitution was envisioned in Article 255, 256, 257. Only that I think that the country appears, and even from ourselves, we appear extremely confused as to why we actually had a new constitution, because we're mixing the issues. We are mixing the issues about having, particularly on governance. There was a reason why Kenyans wanted a lean central government. There was a good reason. There was a good reason why the people wanted what is now called the devolution under Chapter 11. A good reason to have less government at the top and governance at the bottom. And there was good reason to have a lean cabinet. And there was a good reason to have a presidential system. But you cannot fault Kenyans for thinking that you ought to change tact. Now, Ekuru Okot surprises me a lot, and is my friend, because he sat in the committee of experts. Yes. Are you saying that he prescribed medicine that he thought was wrong? What Kenyans, let me say this in terms of representation. One, we by moving to devolution, where counties have members of county assembly, a governor and a senator, and increasing a number of constituencies, we shot ourselves in the foot. Right. Because the purpose of having constituencies, per se, was to have the Constituency Development Fund. That is really the thrive of having constituencies. Counties were put in place for the same reason, only at a larger scale. So the question we must ask is, why should we have so much funding from so many different sources to do the same thing, in the same region? So to that extent, therefore, whether you talk about scrapping the Senate or whether or not you reduce the number of MPs, the question is, what was the ultimate question of, what was the ultimate mischief in trying to have this sort of development done at the lower level because of the marginalization that the country has suffered for a long time? My argument, to answer some of the questions, the debate as to whether we will have an election in August or December, there's no time in this country we will have an election that will not be disruptive.
Sure.
Because if you have the election in December, as proposed by Honorable Chris Wamalwa, and we have a rerun, the rerun will not be in December also. It will be in February.
Yes.
How will it not interfere with the calendar of schools in January? Because it will be after 60 days.
Yes.
So that argument doesn't hold any water. To reduce number of counties, which one are you going to reduce? Are you going to merge Migori with Homa Bay?
Right.
Are you going to merge Mandera with Wajir?
And Machakos and Makueni.
And what formula are you going to use? Most of the people who are talking about reducing number of counties have no formula of either increasing or reducing. Because the formula of having 47 counties was taken back to 1992, that was agreed upon. But to be fair to Kenyans is, do we want to have units that are more economically viable? That we can argue along the way. Reducing number of ministries, abolishing Senate, Kamket's bill, the arguments must be brought on the table. What I'm wondering, and maybe what Kenyans should be asking, is we have a committee of 14. Are they 14 members?
Building Bridges.
Building Bridges Initiative.
Yes, 14. Everybody
who has a proposal, trust me, the Senate has got proposals on what we think the Senate should look like in the proposed proposed amended constitution. I think the committee, Building Bridges Initiative, must ask every Kenyan, every leader to make a proposal about what they think should be a referendum question.
Sure.
As opposed to taking this platform, these issues to the platform where I've seen them, of viuno vetu, you know, viuno vetu vinakazi, you know, that sort of. So the argument is disappearing in the viuno debate. Let's bring it to a platform. The platform that you had either in Bomas, platform where people can actually sensibly discuss these issues so that we can get to the bottom of it, because I think from where I'm seated that we cannot have this argument continuously. In 2020, let's agree that is a cutoff point for a referendum, if we are going to have any.
So for you, Senator Kajwang'a, what do you think is the burning issue that must be addressed through a referendum?
Unfortunately, the referendum question is not a matter of if, but when. Because that's where we found ourselves in. I have always held the view that this constitution we have could be useful to Kenyans if we had the commitment from the executive and Kenyans to make it work. Look at the vexing issues. Number one is inclusivity. That a presidential system as we have is a winner takes it all, where once someone is elected president, then the rest of the regions are told to wait for their turn. But should it be that way? No. The values in that constitution, it talks about inclusivity, it talks about bringing everyone on board. Unfortunately, those who have been elected to that position, and it is an indictment on not Mwai Kibaki, but basically Uhuru Kenyatta, because he's a president who has had the opportunity to implement this constitution. He has failed Kenyans to make Kenyans feel like members of one community, members of one nation. Why should everyone clamor that their son should be president so that they get the fruits of the executive and the presidency? It is a failure of the current executive to bring Kenyans together. The other vexing issue, the relationship between the two houses in Parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly. We've got Article 111 that obliges the speakers of both houses to consult on a regular basis.
Yes.
If they followed that provision, they would be talking every morning and every evening. Instead of doing that, all they do is to come up with conspiracies to make one house look worse than the other.
That's right.
And they find all excuses not to pull together. You see, even in this issue of VAT, there was a 9 billion reduction from county governments. There seems to be a conspiracy not to involve the Senate in that decision, and yet we know that that is a decision that affects the division of revenue and county allocation of revenue. So these are artificial differences.
Yes.
Let us look at the other vexing issue on the number of counties and whether we should go regional or remain county governments. Counties are forming blocks. I know in the Lake region, we have the Lake region economic block. We had the NOREB, Northern Kenya Regional Economic Block. And we've got economic blocks all over the country. The Constitution already provides a framework for counties to work together, for counties to undertake projects jointly, intergovernmental relations. If we were committed, then we wouldn't have to spend money to change the Constitution to convert Lake Region Economic Block into one regional government.
That's right.
We would be making sure that the Constitution works. The other vexing issue is on the issue of integrity of leaders. We have Chapter 6 that is completely untouched. In fact, if there was a section of that Constitution that I would call a virgin, it is Chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
Because no one ever refers to it and no one takes it seriously. So Sam, for me, my view is that we do not have the discipline and commitment to make this Constitution work. And with that kind of spirit, even if we are going to change the Constitution, the bad manners will follow from one Constitution to the other. Unfortunately, it looks like the mood of the Republic is for us to change the Constitution so that we tighten a few areas. But I believe that if we had a good president and a good presidency and a good executive that is committed to this Constitution, then this Constitution would have served us for a longer period.
You know, what bothers me in constitution making, and if you read the Constitution, is that what appears to be in the headline and the mouth of all of us, particularly the politicians, is to address the 2022 question.
Yes.
And I want to disagree with Senator Kajwang'a, because the people who came up with this structure of governance, they came up with a structure of governance that would lead all of us Kenyans to have less clamor, to have a Mukamba, a Luo, a Kalenjin in State House for the sake of your tribe. It was envisioned that the person that would concentrate in our counties, because when we get resources, then that resource we would not want to have a president. Why do people think that if your tribesman becomes president, you then become either rich, you get a job, your region gets a road or gets a dam? So to that extent, that portion of the Constitution where we were supposed to devolve resources to our counties and to leave dams and other things to be done at county level is where we have failed. So we have come back to Nairobi, all of us.
That's right.
And all of us are saying, let's expand the executive so that even if we lose the election,
we have something to do.
Our tribesman can be seen at the national platform. It's a very, very wrong argument. And I think we should concentrate. And Senator Kajwang'a and I can champion this and say,
yes,
why can't we devolve our resources to a large extent? Article 203. Why do we say minimum of 15% when we have created 47 county governments? Why can't we move to a minimum threshold of 50%, 40%, which the Senate agreed to? And then let's see how that works. Right. Let's see whether people are going to start saying, naomba kazi. Because when we devolve resources, Senator Kajwang'a will be happy to live and work in Homa Bay and not have his relatives at State House. Yes. Because that should not be the center of the attraction for purposes of this country.
Because that takes me to the question of inclusivity. Is it the inclusivity of politicians or Kenyans? And how exactly do you achieve that without necessarily, like your party leader proposed, Stephen Kilonzo Musyoka, he was proposing that there should be a position of a prime minister and 1 or 2 deputies, the president and 1 or 2 deputies. So how do you resolve the question of inclusivity without really addressing the concerns and the interest of politicians?
Does inclusivity mean that Otieno and Kamau and Mutua and Kambi sitting on a table? you know, there's been this conversation around the Equalization Fund.
Yes.
And our regular panelist, Senator for Kiambu, Kimani Wamatangi, has always argued that Kiambu should benefit from the Equalization Fund, that Kiambu County is marginalized. And when you put him on the spot, he will tell you that there are parts and pockets of Kiambu that are in utter poverty.
Yeah.
You go to Nyeri, go to Kanini Kega's constituency.
Yes.
They receive relief food.
Yes.
And someone sitting in Mombasa might think because Mwai Kibaki came from Nyeri, then Nyeri should not suffer.
Of course.
Go to Baringo.
County.
Baringo has got serious pockets of poverty. Last week we was in Gishu, we were in Eldoret, the home of the deputy president.
Yes.
And of course Kenyans know what the maize farmers told us.
Yes.
They felt like they do not belong to Kenya. Having your son on that table
It's
does
not
not mean that it's going to translate into a better life for you. Inclusivity is not about the boys sitting and the boys coming from different tribes.
And so what is that inclusivity that should be resolved in a referendum and an amendment of some of the articles in the Constitution?
Let me tell you what all the presidents in this republic have done, and the statistics are there. The presidents of this republic, from the first president and even the current president, have not resolved the question as to why only a few tribes occupy the major positions in the republic. That is the inclusivity we are talking about. It's not a place where you have you're like hyenas seated on a table and you are sharing a piece of meat. Kenya is not a dead animal that we are going to eat.
Yes.
What you are simply saying, have you balanced public positions in such a way on merit that every community in this republic, the 42, feel as if they are part and parcel of this republic? The answer is no. Because what happens is that every subsequent president and subsequent leadership fills these positions, with their tribes. So there are people in this country who in fact, and some tribes in this country, unless they give birth continuously for a long period of time, we will never see the presidency. Why? Because you're told, how many are you? I remember somebody saying, how many Kambas exist in this republic? What numbers are you bringing on the table so that you can become a president? So the sense of entitlement, and you've heard people say, Rudisha Deni, it's your time to pay a debt. What debt are you talking about?
Yes.
It's a debt that we gave you this position, return the favor to us, so that we also can have the opportunity to lead. I'm telling you, the arguments are lost in the translation, in the place where this propagation of tyranny of numbers. What is tyranny of numbers? Do you know what it is? In loose terms, it's called tribal bigotry. That this tribe has got X number of people, this one has got X number of people. If we coalesce together, we will get 7 million people to vote for you and you become president.
And a referendum will not address that?
How will it address that issue? It's a question of management of this country. You manage this country and resources of this country so that if Senator Kajwang'a's county decides that you will get 3% of the presidential vote, when it comes to the national cake, you give them an equal opportunity with the people who gave you 90% of the vote. That is what is called inclusivity.
And I can add on to that.
Right.
I was in my county and the people are asking me, so Senator, these debts that we have to pay for,
yes,
have they found their way to Homa Bay?
Right.
Because the equitable share that Homa Bay gets is as a result of the tax collection.
Yes.
It is not the debt. In fact, what they get is reduced as a consequence of the debt that we have to repay.
Yes.
So we go and negotiate a loan to build a superhighway from Mombasa to Nairobi.
Yeah.
We also have a loan to build an SGR running, next to each other. And the person from Homa Bay asks, when will the SGR come to Homa Bay? Yes. So that when I'm repaying this debt, I know that I'm repaying a debt that touches on me. And the argument of economists from Treasury has always been the trickle-down economics perspective. Yeah. That you go and develop Mombasa, go and develop Ruiru, go and develop certain parts of the country, like Naivasha, Nairobi, and then all else shall be added unto you. Yes. You go to Kirinyaga, you find the national government has invested billions of shillings into a fish processing plant that is lying idle. It was there in the newspapers the other day. And you have not made a similar investment as a national government in a fish processing plant around Lake Victoria or around Lake Turkana or around the coastal region.
Available.
Exactly.
The issue of inclusivity goes beyond leadership.
No.
It even goes beyond positions in government.
Yes.
But the fundamental thing is about resources. That is what we need to address.
There's a picture circulating in the media about the president of Switzerland. Have you seen it? When they went for the Unga. The man is seated in a pavement, or possibly on his phone, on Twitter. Is casually and how he lived. We must get to the country where who becomes president is not relevant, because it will not be possible for every tribe in this republic in our lifetime, Senator Kajwang'a and I, to occupy that one seat of presidency.
That's right.
So we should invest more in systems. And I think that one of, and I want to plead with Kenyans, one of the things that we have done as a country to attempt to equalize this country, you know, like the famous advert, makes us equal, has no equal, is devolution. Where you can get Lamu County to supervise its own development. People of Lamu County, through public participation, sit and decide what developments they have done. There are places in this country, in northeastern frontier and those counties, where they have tarmac roads because of devolution. That, to me, it appears to be a bigger priority.
It's more useful.
More useful.
Right.
Because if we concentrate on devolving resources, we will get into less debt, because we're getting into debt to do this thirst for debt is at national level. It's not at county level.
That's right.
Counties are not borrowing from China. It's at national level to do projects which I do not think, for purposes of Wanjiku, for purposes of Otieno, Mwekali, are going to affect them at the immediate, because they want to see, Wanjiku wants to see that you have borrowed X, and it translates directly to their pocket, immediately.
Yes. Yet on page 4 of The Nation, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi is saying that you should defer referendum talk. Citizens too tired. He's talking about that despite, you remember that towards the election of last year, the National Super Alliance was very vocal about that idea of having a review of the structure of government. Now he says that Kenyans are so tired, they have things that they need to focus on, and he feels this is not the right time. But now the question is, people have been saying that, as you said, it's a matter of when, not if, and 2022 there will be an election. There's no doubt about that. Might we be delaying that conversation and we find ourselves caught up such that the essence of a referendum will be lost in the campaigns of 2022?
What Musalia Mudavadi is talking about is the fatigue of Kenyans, because, you know, Kenyans are choking in debt. Kenyans are choking in VAT. Government has reduced or purported to reduce money that is going for development for counties. Kenyans are now paying an equivalent of 3%, both from employer and employee, to build houses which we do not know when they are going to be built, even for people who have houses. And a referendum is still going to cost us money. So what he's simply saying is, in your to-do list, is this the most urgent thing that we need to discuss? The ultimate question, and I've asked this question, is, assuming we do a referendum in 2020, what exactly do we want to see in 2023? Are we going to have less debt? Are we going to help Kenyans build the economy? That is what he's talking about. He's talking from Wanjiku.
Yes.
Wanjiku is wondering, in 2023, by the way, if we have a deputy prime minister, if we have 2 deputy prime ministers, or an executive prime minister, or whatever position that we are talking about, how is it going to have an effect on the person who is in water today, or Kadonzweni, who doesn't know, and who, for whatever reason, when a child is born today, the 60 or 70 children who are going to be born in Pumwani today have a debt each of 18,000 shillings or more.
Yes.
Those questions.
Which will keep rising if the trend continues.
Yes.
You know, fortunately, we have the Building Bridges Initiative, which has got some very reputable gentlemen, and someone like Amos Wako, Haji, and the rest of the gentlemen and women and ladies who are on that committee. I'm glad that they've started doing some work. I'm informed that they've received some budgetary allocation, office space, and support from the presidency to continue with their work. In fact, next week on Friday, I will be hosting a youth meeting in my county just to talk to the youth and caucus them and get their perspectives on Building Bridges initiative. Yeah. I would wish that we take this Building Bridges initiative seriously so that it becomes then the sounding board for the kind of changes and the kind of expectations that we need as Kenyans. I don't think this is a conversation that should be dominated by Parliament and members of Parliament and the political class purely. We must inject the thinking of the religious bodies, civil society, and the common man. In fact, that was a structure. That was that was how Bomas was structured, and we came up with a document which later on was mutilated. But the document we have, it was a bottom-up approach. It was not Parliament deciding. It was not Caleb MP for Soy deciding that now we have to do away with the Senate. It was informed by the feelings and the aspirations of the people. And so I would wish that that then becomes the direction we take to make a decision on whether we are going for a referendum or not. But my personal conviction is that if we had leaders, men and women of good character and good intentions, this constitution that we have, despite its limitations, yes, it has limitations, despite its limitations, a leader of strong character and a leader of strong will would have run this country successfully for more than 10 years without Kenyans saying that we need to change the constitution.
Let me tell you what I think is going to be the problem of this proposed amendments. It's going to turn out into the 205 referendum. Yes. The 205 referendum ended up being a political contestation. And all of us, and including the political leadership, is going to then try their mettle in the public domain about their political clout, as opposed to the fundamental questions in the referendum. In a proper referendum for purposes of, by the way, in the developed world, they do referendums continuously. Yes. We are the only ones who make it such a big deal and expensive. A proper referendum would have two questions. You don't want to confuse Kenyans. Would have two questions. Two fundamental questions. Fundamental questions on governance, fundamental questions on issues that will touch the country and help them. But this referendum, and my suspicion is that we are going to go to the platforms. They're going to say, if Kajwang'a has read the Constitution, then it's tick or not tick. But they will not bother to read, because it's going to be a political contestation of the Chungwa and Mandizi referendum, where it's going to be politics.
And actually, that has started, because yesterday we were speaking to, one of our reporters was speaking to some members of the public from, I think that was Eldoret. If not Eldoret, it was Bomet, and they were saying that they're waiting for William Ruto to read the Constitution and then and advise them on the direction they should take. And that brings me to my last question, even as we wait to look at the feedback of what Kenyans are saying about this conversation. The question about, you said that the Building Bridges initiative should be given an opportunity to really look into what ails Kenya and whether there is need for a referendum, and if yes, what issues those are. But again, there's still not quite an acceptance of that agenda, and I say this because of the sentiments over the weekend by the Deputy President. He was saying that the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has come in to rock the Jubilee Party and wants to chase him out of the Jubilee Party. So there's that political suspicion, especially from the Deputy President's side. And on this other hand, we have the ODM party, the National Super Alliance, sitting comfortable and hoping that the Building Bridges initiative is going to resolve this. So how can a country move forward? Because already the battle lines seem, seem to be being drawn. How do you achieve a common goal?
I think the president must call his deputy to order. If the president took the decision that to heal the country and move it forward, it was necessary to work with Raila Odinga, then that should be the position of the government. And the deputy president cannot purport to contradict the government that he serves and call the move by the presidency a move that introduces conmanship, trickmanship, and confusion in government. In fact, if the deputy feels that Raila Odinga has brought in all those negative adjectives into the government, then he's saying that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are the ones bringing conmanship and confusion in Jubilee. And it is important. In fact, it goes back, and leadership theorists and leadership gurus will tell you that organizations rise and fall as a result of leadership. And as I said it, that this constitution, which is imperfect, could have succeeded far much more with a better and stronger leadership. This ceasefire that we have attained, that is allowing the economy to move on despite a huge debt, despite high taxation, despite Kenyans being auctioned left, right, and center. But at least politically, we have found a situation, we have found an opportunity to sit back and reduce the tensions. If anyone was expected to support it, it would be the president, followed by the deputy president, then the rest of Kenyans. The Building Bridges initiative is an undertaking that has got the blessings of both sides, the ruling party and the opposition that is convinced that it won the last election. It is rare for political combatants to shake hands the manner in which these two gentlemen did and decide that let us now work through this body to define the areas of commonality and areas of differences so that the areas of differences can be dealt with. In my view, any Kenyan, and particularly any Kenyan leader, who tries to shortchange, who tries to short-circuit an initiative meant to bring cohesion into this country is an enemy of the country.
From the conversations I've seen, both from what the Deputy President was saying, from the responses, from what I've heard from Mheshimiwa Junet, it appears to me that the Building Bridges initiative and the handshake between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga has not trickled down to their colleagues in their respective coalitions. Now, there's no doubt in my mind, and the doubt of any sensible Kenyan, of the clout that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga enjoy in this country. And I do not think, in my view, and I can advise them, and now I am advising them, I do not think they will become less of statesmen or less of the clout they enjoy if they were to invite all their respective troops on a table so that the dialogue can appear for purposes of the public. I'm talking about appearances. Because what appears today, and from the conversations I've had, people keep saying that, for example, and I've had this, the deputy president should be called to order because his boss sat on a table with Raila. I don't think that's correct. Kilonzo should be called to order because Raila sat on the table. I don't think that is correct. For purposes of ensuring that we do not have contestations in what would be the proposed amendments. Because if you're going to build a bridge, please make sure that everybody is going to be carried along. The bridge is wide enough. The bridge is wide enough on both sides to accommodate everybody so that it doesn't look like this is an initiative between Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. They should carry everybody on board. As they say in the Bible, in the house of the Lord, there are many rooms. Let the President and Raila Odinga open the doors for everybody to sit on the table. Let's reduce the rhetoric about what we need to do as a country, because in my own view, and I stand corrected, we cannot have a referendum question that is a full paper, a full page, A4 size.
It can't have so much.
No, we can't have so much. Let's carry this constitution in a manner that we can do 2 issues, and then we can do another 2 issues at a later date.